E.N.D here. If you are carefully following what is being revealed for the Brothers' War, you should be aware that this revisit of the past set will have a particular returning mechanic, UNEARTH. UNEARTH, for the time being, has been only seen on Phyrexian Dragon Angel that also melds with Mishra. And if you want to learn a bit more about meld, I leave a link to my meld tutorial in the description below. UNEARTH is a keyword ability introduced in Shards of Alara as the Grixis signature mechanic. UNEARTH returns a creature to the battlefield and gives it haste, at the expense of the creature being exiled at the end of turn. It functions similar to Flashback, providing a one-time effect that can be cast from the graveyard. However, Flashback only appears on instants and sorceries, and UNEARTH is strictly limited to creature cards. But how do you play UNEARTH? Let's build our battlefield, let's put this to represent this deck, and let's put this to represent our graveyard. And I'm going to cast Phyrexian Dragon Angel, 3 and 2 red with UNEARTH, melds with Mishra claimed by Gix. It's a normal spell, therefore it goes on this deck. There can be a response, there can be a counter, nothing happens, and Phyrexian Dragon Angel will hit the battlefield. As I casted Phyrexian Dragon Angel from my hand, I didn't need to use its UNEARTH ability. UNEARTH works only if the creature is in the graveyard. Therefore, let's say my opponent shocks my Phyrexian Dragon Angel, so my opponent will play a shock on my Phyrexian Dragon Angel. Phyrexian Dragon Angel will die and it will go in the graveyard. Now, because Phyrexian Dragon Angel is in my graveyard, I can use its UNEARTH ability. I will pay 3 and 2 red. Ability will go on this deck. There can be a response, there can be a counter target activated ability. If nothing happens, Phyrexian Dragon Angel will hit the battlefield. Because I have unearthed Phyrexian Dragon Angel, it gains haste, therefore can attack ASAP. And if it dies, get exiled, or gets exiled at the beginning of the next end step. Some notes: UNEARTH appears only on creature cards. You can use UNEARTH only if the creature is in your graveyard. If the creature is in your hand, deck, exile zone, or command zone, you cannot use UNEARTH. You may activate the UNEARTH ability of a card in your graveyard no matter how it ended up in your graveyard. If you activate a card's UNEARTH ability, but that card is removed from your graveyard before the ability resolves, that UNEARTH ability will resolve and do nothing. Activating a creature's card's UNEARTH ability isn't the same as casting the creature card. The UNEARTH ability is put on the stack, but the card is not. Spells and abilities that interact with activated abilities, such as Stifle, will interact with UNEARTH, but spells and abilities that interact with spells, such as Remove Soul, will not. At the beginning of your end step, a creature returned to the battlefield with UNEARTH is exiled. This is a delayed triggered ability and can be countered by spells such as Stifle or Void Slime that counter triggered abilities. If the ability is countered, the creature will stay on the battlefield and the delayed trigger won't trigger again. However, the replacement effect will still exile the creature when it eventually leaves the battlefield. UNEARTH grants haste to the creature that's returned to the battlefield. However, neither of the exile abilities is granted to that creature. If that creature loses all its abilities, it will still be exiled at the beginning of the next end step, and if it would leave the battlefield, it's still exiled instead. If a creature returned to the battlefield with UNEARTH would leave the battlefield for any reason, it's exiled instead, unless the spell or ability that causing the creature to leave the battlefield is actually trying to exile it. In that case, it succeeds in exiling it. If it later returns the creature card to the battlefield, as Flicker Wisp might, For example, the creature card will return as a new object with no relation to its previous existence. The unearth effect will no longer apply to it. So this is how you play Unearth. Leave a comment below what do you think about this particular returning mechanic in the Brothers War, and as always, the subscribe button is here. Subscribe to my channel for more and more interesting videos about Magic the Gathering and the collectible world.